You won't believe what happened when a poor ex-wife got invited to her ex-husband's wedding. He thought he'd humiliate her in front of everyone. He thought she'd show up broken, dressed in rags, begging for his forgiveness. But what happened instead left everyone stunned, including the groom himself. Stay with me until the very end because this story will touch your heart in ways you never expected. It all started 5 years ago. Emily and David were deeply in love, or at least Emily thought they were. She wasn't rich, but she gave David everything she had. Her time, her heart, her trust. They got married young, and life was far from easy. Emily worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. She would stay up late sewing old clothes to make them look new because they couldn't afford much. And you know what David would say every time she came home exhausted? Emily, you need to do more. I can't live like this forever. Those words cut through her like a knife. She thought they were a team. She thought love was enough. But to David, it wasn't. David came from a family that always looked down on Emily. They'd whisper behind her back at family gatherings, calling her a burden, saying she wasn't good enough for their son. Emily heard every word, but she stayed silent because she loved David. She believed things would get better. But then, one day, everything fell apart. Emily had just found out she was pregnant. She was nervous but excited, hoping this would bring them closer together. She cooked David's favorite meal that night, waiting for him with the biggest smile on her face. But when he walked through that door, he didn't even look happy. He didn't even ask how her day was. Instead, he sat down and said words she would never forget. Emily, I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce. Her heart dropped. She thought he was joking. She begged him to explain, but he just said he was tired of living poor, tired of struggling, tired of pretending to be happy. And then, he said something that shattered her soul. I found someone else. Someone who can give me the life I deserve. Emily couldn't breathe. The man she loved, the man she sacrificed everything for, was leaving her for another woman, because she wasn't rich enough. And the worst part, she was carrying his child. She tried to tell him, but he didn't even give her the chance. He packed his bags and walked out the door, leaving her alone in that tiny apartment with nothing but tears and broken dreams. The next few months were the hardest of Emily's life. She cried herself to sleep every night. She didn't have family to turn to, no friends who could help. She had to survive on her own. And then came the day of the ultrasound. She sat there trembling, still wondering if she should tell David. But when the doctor smiled and said, "Congratulations, you're having triplets," Emily almost fainted. Triplets. 3 babies. How was she going to do this alone? At first, she thought her life was over. But then something changed inside her. She looked at those tiny heartbeats on the screen and made a promise. I will never let you suffer. I will give you the best life I can, even if I have to work myself to the bone. And from that day, Emily fought like never before. She worked days, nights, and weekends. She cleaned houses, washed dishes, and even took online courses whenever she could. There were days when she didn't eat just to make sure her babies had formula. Nights when she cried quietly so they wouldn't wake up. But slowly, things began to change. She started a small online business selling handmade crafts. At first, it barely paid the bills, but Emily refused to give up. And then, one of her designs went viral. Orders started flooding in. Within 2 years, Emily had built a successful business from scratch. She bought a modest home, hired help, and gave her 3 beautiful children the life they deserved. They were her world, her reason to keep going. Meanwhile, David was living his dream, or so he thought. He married the woman he left Emily for. She was rich, glamorous, and came from a powerful family. At first, everything seemed perfect. Expensive trips, fancy cars, luxury parties. But money doesn't guarantee happiness. His new wife didn't love him, she loved control. She belittled him in front of others, made all the decisions, and treated him like a trophy. And deep down, David missed something Emily had given him, genuine love. But it was too late. Years passed, and then came the day David decided to get married again. His second marriage had fallen apart, and now he was marrying another wealthy woman. This time, he wanted everyone to see how far he'd come. And that's when he had an idea, a cruel one. He decided to invite Emily to his wedding. Not because he cared, but because he wanted to show her what she lost. He imagined her walking in, poor and pathetic, while he stood there in his designer suit, surrounded by luxury. He wanted to see the regret in her eyes. So, he sent her an invitation. When Emily saw the invitation, she felt a rush of emotions. Anger, sadness, disbelief. For a moment, she thought about throwing it away. But then she looked at her 3 beautiful children playing in the living room and smiled. She wasn't the same Emily he left behind. She was stronger now, successful. And most of all, she had something money could never buy, unconditional love. So, she decided to go. Not for revenge, but to show him that happiness doesn't come from wealth. It comes from love, resilience, and never giving up. The wedding day arrived. Guests gathered in a grand hall decorated with flowers and chandeliers. David stood at the altar, looking proud, thinking about the moment Emily would walk in. He was ready to see her humiliation. But then, something happened that no one expected. Outside the venue, a sleek black limousine pulled up. The chauffeur stepped out and opened the door. And then, Emily emerged. She looked breathtaking in a simple yet elegant gown that radiated grace. Her hair was styled perfectly, and her smile lit up the entire place. But that wasn't all. Behind her, 3 little children stepped out, 2 boys and a girl, dressed like tiny angels. The crowd gasped. David's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe his eyes. Emily didn't just show up. She showed up with their children, the triplets he never knew existed. Whispers filled the room as Emily walked in, holding her children's hands with pride. Guests stared, some in awe, some in shock. David felt his world crumble. He walked toward her, his voice trembling. Emily, are they mine? Emily looked him straight in the eyes and said calmly, yes, David. These are your children. The ones you abandoned before they were even born. Silence filled the room. David's new bride looked furious. She had no idea about this. Guests started murmuring, taking pictures, recording videos. David felt the weight of his choices crashing down on him. He tried to speak, but Emily held up her hand. Save it, David. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to show you that you didn't break me. You left me when I had nothing, and now, I have everything I need. I have love, I have success, and I have these 3 beautiful souls who make my life complete. The children looked up at their father, confused, but Emily gently led them away. She didn't stay for the ceremony. She didn't need to. She had already said everything without a single argument. As she walked out, people whispered about her strength, her grace, her resilience. And David, he stood there, broken, realizing he had lost the only woman who truly loved him, and the family he could have had. As Emily got back into the limo, her kids hugged her tightly. She smiled through tears, knowing she had won, not by revenge, but by living her best life. She whispered to them, we don't need anyone who doesn't see our worth. And they drove away, leaving behind a room full of people who had just witnessed the most powerful lesson of all. That success isn't about money, it's about love, strength, and never giving up on yourself. So, the next time someone looks down on you because of what you don't have, remember Emily's story. Life can change in ways you never expect. Just keep fighting, keep believing, and one day, the world will see your worth, just like Emily did.